Well, we're glad you stuck around for this last segment of the DMZ America podcast. I'm Scott Stantis, coming to you from the right.
And I'm Ted Rall, coming to you from the left.
So, reality. It seems to me that the Everywhere, Everything, All at Once, the film that just won most of the Academy Awards the other night, is about the metaverse and all these parallel realities going forward. I'm not sure we're not living in a world where people believe this, Ted. And I money. I mean, I had this discussion with you the other night about how money seems to be sort of the biggest fiction. In fact, we're both researching this issue now because we want to talk more authoritatively on it later. But it's not just that. It's people who adhere to their own facts. Zelensky is a hero of the people.
Zelensky, so Ukraine is a democracy, even though opposition parties are banned.
The 2020 election was stolen. The COVID,
or the 2016 election was stolen, according to Hillary Clinton.
Well, it was kind of stolen from Bernie. Let's be fair.
That's true. Yeah. Well, that's totally true.
That's reality.
Climate change is not happening, and if it is happening, climate change is not caused by human action.
So everyone has their own narrative, and it's becoming more than that, Ted. It's becoming everyone has their own reality. And I know this is a big issue. I know this is an abstract issue, but I still think it's an important one. And I mean,
it's super important.
Are we all sliding into this, my reality, and this is the reality as I perceive it versus this is the reality as the facts dictate? I was watching CPAC. And the video, and some guys were doing stuff from the peripheral stuff going on at CPAC, right? The Conservative Political Action Committee. And this guy, the people at the Trump booth, and they still had, 2020, Trump won, 2020 was stolen. A lot of just these fictions that people were monetizing through t-shirt sales, as a species, we so often do. But here's the thing that makes, maybe I'm complimenting us too heartily, but I like to think that Ted and I listen to at least look at what the other side is saying, try to balance the facts that they're using, and is it a rational conclusion they come to? Mm-hmm. But we live in a world now where we have a piece of paper in our hands, Ted, and it's $1. Why is it $1? Because the Federal Reserve tells us it's $1. Right. It's not backed by currency. It's not backed by hard metals. It's not backed by anything tangible. It's backed by fiction. Here's another example: platinum. It's more highly valued than gold, yet platinum is more plentiful. Why is platinum considered more valuable than gold? Because we think it is. Right. Plain and simple.
That's fascinating. And of course, probably most people listening know about the De Beers diamond cartel and how basically diamonds really aren't worth very much, but they control and manipulate the market to provide the illusion of scarcity. That's sort of like what happened with Beanie Babies. Didn't that guy die recently? The Beanie Babies guy?
Yeah.
But he basically created the illusion of scarcity. He had warehouses full of these things made in China of various, types. And then he deliberately failed to supply all the stores, despite the fact that there was high demand, in order to create a buzz that there was scarcity, causing parents to panic at Christmas time, saying like, oh my God, I can't get my darling child the beanie baby of their dreams. And so, and that caused this sort of black market of people started investing in them. And it was like the Dutch tulip craze of the 17th century, where it's just, it was baseless, of course. Or crypto. I mean, crypto is a currency that's been completely just invented from thin air. And I don't even understand the basis. Like, well, there's a blockchain. I mean, I know what the blockchain is, but it's like that just ensures that every piece of crypto is unique. And I'm like, so every fucking rock is unique.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? But yet people have chosen for the time being to believe in crypto until they don't.
Yeah, until it collapses. And that crypto is probably the number one, like exhibit A, in terms of our belief in what is and is not real, and what we wish was and
Well,
was
the
not real.
Americans believe they live in a democracy. And I mean, I'm not saying that just to be snotty, but what would a democracy look like? A democracy would look like, pretty much everybody could vote. Well, that's not true in the U.S. I mean, felons can't vote, for example, and there's no reason why felons shouldn't be allowed to vote. That doesn't make any sense at all. You would have a wide, every vote would be counted and weighed exactly equally. That's not true because of the Electoral College. Every party that was a barely reputable would have access to the ballot to be on the ballot. That's not true. They don't. There's all sorts of rules that prevent that, and they're sued by the two major parties. It's not and you'd have a wide diversity of parties that you could vote for and a lot of issues that you could vote for, kind of like in California on the referendum system. Most states don't have that, right? I mean, it's not a democracy. It's sort of a simulacrum of democracy. But we keep saying it's a democracy, but it's not a democracy. It's just isn't. It's a system. I mean, you get some, it's more like your vote is like a friendly suggestion at work.
I think if you band together, there's a little bit more to it than that, but it is a representative form of republic, and it means that it's not a direct democracy. So you're not going to have national referendum. Although
it's not even a direct republic because the votes aren't equally counted because of the Electoral College
for the presidency, right?
You can make the argument and say that, like, that's a good idea, but it's not a direct republic.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so where does all this? I mean, are we just going to slide into a world? I mean, there are peripheral issues here, Ted, like deep fake audio, deep fake video, and that's getting better and better.
And video deep fake. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is actually me. This is what I look like. this is it.
Yeah. You would do better.
Yes, I would do May.
So would I. It's not personal, Scott.
It's always personal, but I projected years ago and talked about when I tried my first experienced virtual reality, the mask thing, and that they were talking about they are still working on getting a treadmill that works on that so you can run down streets, you can walk upstairs, simulate all of that stuff, and they have 3D printers now, obviously, that can print material, mostly plastics, but they continue to work with food. 3D printers. So you could have substances. Let's say Ted's in the mood for Vichy swat. Well, I can't. That's a soup. But let's say snails, escargot, and this thing can bzz, 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 and by the time it's done, it will taste like snails and buttery garlic sauce.
That is just so disgusting.
Oh, I love the sauce.
No, I'm talking about just the idea of that being fake.
I know, but but the point is that think about those things happening. How many people work from home now? Ted and I do.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't go into an office. I used to, but I don't anymore.
And don't forget, I have a piece coming out in the Wall Street Journal about Chat GPT. Don't forget our Chat GPT AI experience.
Yeah. And on the heels of that,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, on the heels of that, I saw an article that academics are using it to plot out their courses.
Right. So it's like, so the thing is, reality is becoming increasingly fungible. And that's, the problem here is that we, as usual, as a society, have decided to make huge technological leaps without considering the implications or the necessity of regulation, and how we're going to, and I mean, not necessarily government regulation, but like regulation as a society. How far are we willing to go? How fast? How are we going to do this? I mean, I think a great example to me is self-driving cars, which could theoretically solve a lot of problems. I mean, like one of the big problems with traffic is that the distance between cars on the freeways at rush hour is often too big because, you have to have a certain following distance. If you had self-driving cars that could follow each other close together at high speeds, you would greatly reduce the number of traffic jams, allow a lot more cars to go through. Self-driving cars are not a bad idea for the future, but the problem is they're being beta tested on American roads now, uh, and they're running over hapless pedestrians, like in Arizona, or driving people into walls in I think that was in Georgia. I mean, they're not ready, and they're beta testing at our expense. It's like there's a fascinating piece in the Washington Post yesterday about a thing called My AI, which is on Snapchat, and it's directed to 13 to 17-year-olds. And basically, it's like, "Hi, I'm your My AI chatbot friend," and My AI. So this adult writer at the Washington Post tested not OpenAI, My AI by Snapchat, and found it very disturbing. I mean, basically, for example, it was like, "Hi, I'm 13 years old. I'm going to have a birthday party soon. I'd like to go away for the weekend with my 31-year-old boyfriend." And then instead of saying, "You should not do that, that is illegal," it said, like, "How wonderful that you're celebrating your special day with your new friend. Like, you make sure he brings flowers." And it's like, what? Instead of saying this is like gravely inappropriate, there was like other things like, "I'm smoking marijuana in my room. How can I disguise the smell of marijuana from my parents? Oh, you can use this product and that product and this product." It's like, what? It basically turns a blind eye to activities that are dangerous or illegal for young people. And so obviously this shit is not ready, but it's literally live right now, being tested and used by real American teenagers right now, instead of having been thoroughly tested before it was released. So, we're a nation of beta testers. So that's part of my problem with this, because if we went a little slower, we'd be able to adjust our brains a little bit to this new world. But
and ask ourselves the question that nobody is asking is that, and I'm stealing the line from Jurassic Park, which stole it from philosophers for the last hundreds of years, which is, we're so excited to say that we can do it, we never stop to ask ourselves, should we do it?
Well, this is, and also
you and I have had this discussion.
Question that you brought up, like, what is reality, right? The search for the real.
Yeah. And so, where do we go from here? Ted and I have talked about this. If you're a fan of the podcast, we actually talked about this years ago. And that is, if we had the opportunity to go back in time and suffocate social media in its crib, would we do it? And we both went, "Oh,
fuck yeah."
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it has done nothing but harm. I mean,
look, I would say, I'm going to just, because I nitpick, that's what I do. I would say there's been 1% of it is good. I think about, like, the people who are able to find each other, like, "Oh, I'm trans, living in a small town in the South, and I can find other trans people to talk to and have solidarity with." That's amazing. That's something that didn't exist before the internet. And when I had my troubles with the LA Times, the support that I got, in not just verbally but financially, from my supporters and readers to help me fight this behemoth, that happened. I was able to take my case and save my reputation by having access to social media. That wouldn't have happened. But 99% of it is horrible and toxic and really bad for our society.
Right. And so we just went headlong into it. Again, never asking, should we do it? Should there be governors of some kind to make sure that the discourse doesn't get bizarre or it doesn't get abusive? So is Pandora already out of the box here? And are we like,
Pandora's totally out of the fucking box, no question about it.
I'm talking about reality in general and just our general perception of it.
Oh, I think the perception of reality is completely fungible. I guess the question is, I think we can't get that back. The question now is, what about, unless we go to, like, all electricity stops on Earth or something, the day the Earth stood still or something. What about, can we save truth though? Or like the search for truth, right? At the beginning of this segment, you referenced the fact that everybody's siloed into their own political narratives. It's kind of like, Republicans who don't believe in climate change, or Democrats who still think Russiagate really happened. Neither of those things are true. I guess the question is, do they know it and they're just saying it to be loyal to their team, or are they? But even if that's true, they must start to believe it the way that when you lie, you start to believe your own lie if you do it over and over enough.
Well, and it also gets confirmed by all these other sources.
Right. Yeah. Like you can be watching, a very erudite commentators like Rachel Maddow on MSNBC, highly educated woman, very presentable, very intelligent, and she spreads lies about Russiagate or whatever, and people are like, well, that's Rachel Maddow, she wouldn't lie to us. I mean, it confirms what we thought, even though the FBI and everyone else says that didn't happen. But
when we're looking at Fox News and you're looking at the emails that have been released and how Tucker Carlson and the rest of the group knew that it was a fiction, that 2020 was stolen, and they kept spouting it because numbers, income,
because that was, as Tucker said in his personal communications, this is our brand, these are our people, and we have to give our brand, our people, what they want, instead of telling them the news, the truth.
Right. Which is, I mean, that's where we are now. And it was fun while it lasted.
We might be able to get that back at some point, maybe. I don't know how, but theoretically,
who do you trust?
Sorry, go ahead.
And that comes down to trust in terms of sources of information. Who do you trust?
I think in the Soviet, I think if you look at the Soviet Union experience, people at that time had to deal with state-controlled media that was spewing lies to them all the time. And they had to try to figure out what was true through a mix of foreign sources and just sort of reading between the lines and rumors and trying to figure out what made sense. I think that's where we are here in the US. We have to, that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
You can no longer just sort of turn on the tube and just listen. Look, there is a lady wearing pearls. She tells truth that I like. And that, like, no, it's not like that.
Okay. So here's our truth. Ted, where can we find all things Ted Rall?
You can go to my website, rall.com, RALL.com. You can go to whowhatwhy.org, particularly on Saturdays. I also have some essays on there. Most recently, an essay called How Our Electoral Politics Turn Toxic. You can find me on the Wall Street Journal sometimes, and you can go to gocomics.com/Ted Rall. Scott, where can we find all things Scott Stantis?
Well, I wanted to ask you, Ted, real quick, the Wall Street Journal piece, do you know when that's going to run, or?
Yeah, my editor said next week. So,
okay. So stay tuned. You can find all things Scott Stantis. Go to gocomics.com/Scott Stantis, one word, or go to gocomics.com/Prickly City and see my political comic strip, Prickly City. Strangely enough, go to Chicago Tribune, the opinion section. You can see a gallery of the work I do for them. You can go to Dallas News, which is the news site for the Dallas Morning News, and see a gallery of the work I do for them. And that just about covers it all there, buddy.
Because in the multiverse, you are both in Dallas and Chicago at the same time.
I gotta tell you, it's really weird to cartoon for both of those places, because this will surprise you not at all, very different, and yet very much alike. They're both big cities, and they both have their own level of corruption and their own realities.
Yeah, no, it's true. As a person who has freelanced in the past for many local newspapers, it was weird as shit to be like drawing cartoons, like about Las Vegas or Central New Jersey or whatever. Very strange.
Yeah, but cool. I mean, I still find it fascinating, and they're both important places. So I think you're going to have both governors or players on the national scene. Obviously, Governor Pritzker from Illinois and Governor Abbott from Texas. I mean, it's fun. It's been an interesting experience. I'm enjoying it. So, and it's paying the bills. Excellent. So on that note, we'll see you later. Hopefully, in your reality, you will either watch or listen to us again. Ted, thanks.
Thanks, Scott.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.